Grab your cup of coffee. Sit down for a story. Let's all go exploring. Making it after 40. Making it after 40. Making it after 40.
Hello, friends. Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Making It After 40. I am your host, Lisa Rodriguez. I am an actor and writer who is still trying to make it after the age of 40. On this show, we explore what it means to be an artist trying to make it as a middle-aged person. On today's show, I chat with Ryan Pavlovich. Ryan is our first non-actory creative guest. Ryan is a photographer who found his niche shooting children's fashion and lifestyle photography. Ryan is also a dear friend of mine, thanks to our kids. He's what I like to call a parent friend. Our kids became friends, and via that relationship, all the adults became friends. And now we're a tight-knit little group. Ryan shares with us how he found his way to making his living with art while also raising 5 kids with his awesome wife, Jillian. We also get into the power of having a partner who can collaborate with you on projects, and so much more. Thank you again to everyone who's tuning in each week, and thank you for all the ratings. I just have one little special request. I would love to get some reviews. This is a little embarrassing, but the only review I have is from my husband, which is really awesome, and he's really sweet and incredibly supportive. But it would be nice to have some reviews from people who I don't share a bed with, you know? All right, well, with that, let's get on to the show. Okay, Ryan, thank you so much for joining me on the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, so Ryan and I have been friends for, I think, 7 years? The kids were like 5 and 6, or 5 and 4 even, I think.
I think so, 5, 4.
Yeah, when we first met, and so we've been friends since. Our families, our little family network.
Exactly.
Ryan is a professional photographer living here in LA by way of Michigan. For some reason, all my best friends in LA are all Michiganders. So
we come out of the woodwork. We just we find each other. It's a thing.
Well, you guys are probably just like the nicest, coolest people. So
That's it.
Yeah. So I'm really excited to have you on because like the whole concept of this show is, artists trying to make their way after 40, and so far it's been all actors and writers, so I'm excited to have a photographer on my show.
It's cool to have something different. I'm excited to be the first different.
Yeah. Yeah, so I like to kind of start off with people getting kind of into their story of maybe where they got started, where they kind of got that artist bug, and then how they got to where you're at now.
Sure.
Which is, I'll just give a quick little thing. So Ryan does mainly children's photography for like clothing, models, lifestyle,
brands, family brands.
Yeah. So why don't you share with us kind of how you made your way into making a freelance career for yourself?
Sure. So I guess I grew up in a pretty creative family, I'd say. Both of my parents were teachers. My mom in the music field, I guess, and my dad was more of a biologist, but always making things and very hands-on.
Mm-hmm.
So I think early on, I saw a lot of my creativity kind of grow from their views and all that, and they were always supportive of me, playing music as well. Early in middle school, high school, I joined a band and did the whole rock star thing, and
you guys like toured all over, didn't you?
Toured a little bit, and played that game for a little while as a drummer, and eventually, I guess, grew up. But I actually didn't find photography until college.
Okay.
I took an elective just as kind of like hey, you need another credit. And I saw it and I was like, cool, I'll try that out. And right away, as soon as I was in the dark room, this was of the era of you still learned on film.
Mm-hmm.
And right away, just that first black and white print in the lab, watching that come up, it was just like pure magic for me. And I was hooked. I was like, I
Yeah.
don't know what it is, but I'm gonna be doing this forever. Like this.
Yeah.
And now, like looking back at it now, I realize that like my dad was always taking pictures when he would go out and do his like trips and stuff, and then he would put slideshows together and like
Mm-hmm.
give presentations and stuff. So I think the big part of my story, I guess, intertwined with that and influenced me in a cool way. So
That's really cool. It's really neat that just right at the bat, coming from a household that was super supportive of your creative endeavors and gave
yeah,
you the space to do that. Because I think just in our conversations, I remember you saying like your dad kind of helped you guys, even with your music, would help you guys go do the tours, right?
that was our friend's dad. Um,
Oh, okay.
yeah,
Got that
one
wrong.
of the band dads was definitely a guy that would drive us everywhere and always ask like, where are we going next? It's like
Yeah. Yeah. But it's nice to kind of have that support from the adults in your life.
it was, it was something that I feel like they didn't necessarily fully get what I wanted to do, or like, but they weren't ever really like, no, you're not doing that. Like
Yeah. Yeah.
it was always like, yeah, cool. Hope you're having fun. Like, when are you gonna grow up?
Yeah. So, I don't, gosh, I don't even know this about you. Did you get your BA?
I did. So I got a BFA,
Okay.
fine arts degree in photography.
Okay. Yeah.
Got out of school and I was like, cool, I know how to hang a gallery show, but how do I make money doing this? And
Yeah, they don't teach you that part.
he
And
didn't
like
see that.
any of these artists program, same thing, I have a degree in theater studies. They didn't teach you how to make money
Yeah.
doing your art. There was like at my school there was one class called Business of Acting, and it happened to be that the like my last year they just decided not to offer that class. So 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 they were like, okay, well now you know how to do the tools, but you don't know how to actually make a career for yourself. Go figure it out. Yeah.
Right, right. Like nothing on like how to actually like market yourself or go
No.
do anything with it.
No, and that's a huge piece. Like, how are you supposed to make a living if you don't understand the business? That was always my biggest
Oh yeah.
hiccup, is that I didn't understand the business side of it, or how important the business side of it is. If you can be the most talented actor in the world, but if you don't know how to like network or how to market yourself or how to meet people, it kind of doesn't matter.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Like yeah, I so much of that was learned for me after the fact, and still learning. I feel like it's like a constant struggle. I feel like that's part of the freelance world anyway, but
Yeah.
going into it, coming out of college with like some sort of knowledge base of that would have been, I feel like, really helpful.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh,
And so this was all in Michigan where you did your schooling?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
I mainly in like central Michigan. I grew up north of Detroit a little bit,
Mhm.
and then eventually kind of worked my way all around Michigan and landed in Grand Rapids randomly because out of college I had gotten a degree actually, or I had gotten a degree. I had started working as a graphic designer for this
Okay.
snowboard brand, basically making t-shirts and outerwear designs for this like Japanese line of a snowboard brand, which was fun and cool, and
Yeah.
I loved it. And then I was kind of like getting a little tired of it, and somebody recommended that I call some photographers and start just like assisting, go carry stuff for them. And I was like, oh, that could be cool. And they paid a
Yeah.
lot better at the time. And I was like, cool, I'm going to do that. So
Yeah.
I remember the first day, like going in to help somebody, this photographer, and I had no idea what I was doing. But
Yeah.
on the phone, I was like, yeah, I'm an assistant. I know, I got this. Total BS. Just like showed up in like, I think I wore like slacks and a button down shirt.
Uh,
he's like looking at me like, what are you doing? And we're shooting this like his son had like a men's clothing line and we are shooting it on this dock with his dog and he's like fishing and it was a really cool shoot, but it was just like, okay, what do I do? What are lights? What am I like holding stuff
Yeah.
cool?
Yeah. So
So
on the job training for sure.
definitely a lot of on the job training for me. But it was cool. I got to work with through that. I got to work with a bunch of different photographers doing everything from, couches and office furniture to food and beverage and, weddings. I shot weddings for a handful of years and
Yeah.
commercial stuff for, you know, anything under the sun. So yeah, kind of hung with that path for quite a few years and learned a ton, a ton.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then what's neat about that too is when you're in that kind of learning environment, you get to kind of figure out what you enjoy most because you're trying so many different things. I'm sure like you got a
Oh,
little taste of everything and you got to figure out, well, this, couches aren't for me.
yeah,
I like, shooting people or
yeah. It
weddings aren't
was
for me. I don't whatever it is, you get to kind of figure out what it is that feeds your soul a little bit more.
definitely. It was definitely, and I was definitely the person that would go and hold and carry lights and help people set up stuff all day, and then as soon as I'd be done at like 6 or whatever, I'd rush home and then try to recreate what I did with my like one light in my apartment bedroom and
Oh.
all taped to my chair. like cool, I can get the same lighting. I'm like, no, but
No. No, but you were trying and you were experimenting, and that's a huge
constantly.
part of it. I think like in terms of the acting world, they talk about that a lot, that you can't just wait for the audition to come in. You've got
Mhm.
to be in class or, making stuff with your friends or even like especially with self-tapes now, a lot of people will adopt a self-tape practice where they just get some sides and they try it out at home just for fun. It's not for an audition, it's just for practice, and that's what you were doing, figuring out what works for you.
Yeah, that's 100% the game with photography too. I feel like any creative field, like if you're not just
Yeah.
out making, even if it's just to get something out, paint something, draw something. It doesn't even have to be, I feel like, in the field that you're trying. Obviously it's helpful, but just to
Yeah.
get the creative juices going or flowing somehow, it's always been helpful for me, especially like I just like to create and I like to make and I like to be doing stuff all the time. So,
Yeah. Yeah. That's so cool. So then at that point, you're able to start assisting. So you're kind of making a little bit of money doing
yep.
thing that you enjoy.
Yeah, so I was making money doing assisting. I was still playing music in some bands, touring a little bit, not making money touring.
No.
Um, and then I was shooting weddings a little bit more and more, and that kind of picked up for me. So I dove headfirst into that for a while, and
Yeah.
then I, yeah, eventually just kind of lost my touch with Michigan, I feel like, and
Yeah.
things needed to change in life. I went through a divorce. I met my now wife,
Hmm.
Jillian, and
Yeah.
we both decided, you know what, it's time. Let's get out of here. Let's head somewhere. We were like, do we go to New York? Do we go to LA? We both had kids. We both wanted to go to LA. We're like, see ya. Well,
Yeah.
she actually was like, I'm going. You can come with.
Yeah. This train is moving, and if
Yeah,
you want to be on board, you're welcome, but you
come on.
better keep up.
Exactly. Exactly.
That
So
sounds about right.
yeah. So
Yeah, and Jillian, yeah, your wife Jillian is also a creative powerhouse, and
definitely
she is not 40 yet, so we
not
we
yet.
haven't had her on the show, but I'm sure we'll have her as she's approaching 40. But that must have been so cool to then meet someone and become, have a partner now who is
She's
on the same kind of creative plane that you are.
she has been such a powerhouse and such a like just a guiding light and help for me in so many ways. It's ridiculous. Like she has more of that marketing mindset and more of like
Yeah.
all the things that I'm like, I'm literally terrible at. She's the one
Yeah.
there that's like, no, you go this way or make it look like this or try this. And like,
Yeah.
eventually, a lot of times she lets me kind of find my own way to get there in a good way. And it's always worked out to be like the best version of my work or the best version of myself that I can ever put out. And I will forever be eternally grateful for everything that she has done and does constantly. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
She's
she
so great
allows
at
me to
that.
really, yeah, she allows me to really like explore my creativity, and
Uh-huh.
it's always refreshing to be able to have somebody close that I trust and that I can bounce ideas off of. And she's like, no, that's not going to work.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, she's got such a great eye for like the styling and design in general, and
Absolutely.
that's her creative focus right now is her design business.
Yes.
Um but she's really good at kind of not she personally has a great aesthetic, but she can also look at what other people are wanting and help them bring that vision out. Even if it wouldn't be like her aesthetic, she can help you get your aesthetic
And like
and
the
bring
best
that pull
version
that
of
out of you.
it,
Yeah,
literally
yeah,
like the best
exactly.
version.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does it, but yeah, it's amazing. I'm kind of realizing my role in creativity in general is I'm really good at helping to build things and to get that vision bring it to life, but I need that direction a little bit. Um,
Yeah.
and I feel like I'm really good at more so allowing myself to get into a moment and document that. I've always been that with a
Okay.
camera in my hand. I'm like, I just want to see what happens, and I'll just let it happen. I'll guide what I can, but like the best photographs that I've ever gotten are the ones that just kind of happen in front of me, and I know when to click the shutter.
Yeah.
It's just super fun.
That's so cool. Yeah. Well, okay. So then now you guys pick up with Jillian and Jillian's son, your son as well. And you guys,
Yep.
I mean, of course, at the beginning, you guys are still getting to know each other, but uh but you guys moved out here. And of course, I'm sure that was a huge decision for you to make because your daughter still lives with her mom in Michigan.
Yeah, that was
But
big. It was a big one.
yeah,
It was a very tough choice to decide to come out, but I knew that it would be best uh, for myself, for the family that I was trying to create, for the
yeah,
relationship that I had left. Um,
yeah,
and I definitely was. We did it in a way that was good because we were able to stay close with our daughter uh,
yeah.
and to be able to grow how we needed to, and everybody's still close.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean, like, you guys do have such a beautiful family, and your daughter, despite her being in Michigan, you guys see her all the time,
All the time.
and she comes out, and it's a really beautiful blended family that you guys have
Thank
created,
you.
and it's really great.
Thank you. We
Yeah.
have a lot of fun with all the madness that we have as a
Yeah. So they now have 5 kids combined.
we do.
So so you guys, I don't think that was the original intention, but that's what it ended up being, and it's I don't know. I was one of 5. I kinda love the chaos, although as a parent, I don't know if I would love it. As a child, I loved it. It was fun as a kid, but I know as a parent, that's a real challenge.
It's challenging for sure. I think
Yeah.
I was a it was me and my sister growing up, so I'm not from a big family. Uh, my wife comes from a larger family. I think she was
Yeah.
4, so that's a little bit more normal, if you will, for her. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, I wasn't prepared to be a father of 5. I absolutely love it. I'm learning every day.
Yeah. They teach you a lot.
They do. They do teach you a lot.
Yeah, they teach you a lot about just about yourself, I think, you know.
Oh yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Um,
So you guys got out here and now like you're in LA in this huge market and you're having to start over. What was that like? Because at that point you were probably in your early 30s
yeah, yeah. I was early 30s.
and having to kind
I,
of get a fresh start.
yeah, it was. To be honest with you, I was. when we moved out here, I was excited uh, to get new opportunities. I mean, I grew up music and motorcycle and rock and roll culture, so I came out with the notion of like, oh, I'm gonna shoot all these cool bands and motorcycles,
Yeah.
go drive around the ocean, surfing. It's gonna be awesome. And I got here and I was kind of like, whoa, there's a lot more here than I thought. This is scary. Like, what do I do? Like, I don't know anybody. I don't know where I am half the time in this town. Like, okay, I had been out here like once before for a quick
Mm-hmm.
job, and that was it. So we
Yeah.
landed, and I was like, I don't even know where we are right now,
Yeah.
which is exciting, but also, like in the terms of the marketing, it was starting over. It was
Yeah.
back to at the time still assisting shooting, but still assisting just to be able to like pay bills, and it was like
Yeah.
kind of the only work that I knew. I, I'm like, cool. I can call a photographer if they need help. I know I can help them. I've got
Mm-hmm.
that. So I emailed and called every photographer I could find in the area, and the only thing that landed happened to be a random connection through the movie world who did art department. He had a
Oh, okay.
art department company, and he was like, "Well, do you know how to swing a hammer?" I was like, "Yeah." It's like, cool, come on by. So I ended up swinging a hammer and doing art department world for like around 3 years, pretty
Yeah.
consistently, which was great. It paid the bills. I met some really great people and got to see some cool movie stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Living in the behind the scenes world for a while, which is always it's definitely fun and also like exhausting. Uh,
Yeah. The hours are insane.
yeah, but it was eye opening in a lot of ways to kind of feel out like, oh, okay, maybe I don't want to photograph all this stuff that I came out here thinking I wanted to photograph, and then I kind of just ended
Mm.
up in like this limbo land for like a couple of years. I feel like where it was just kind of like, what do I want? Like I can start over
Yeah.
with what? Like I love taking pictures, but like what do I really want to take pictures of? And for me, it wasn't until my wife Jillian had started a kids clothing line when we had our middle child, and it was starting to do pretty well and
Mm-hmm.
pick up. And she was like, "Well, I need some photos for the website," and I was like, "Well, I'll do photos." And so we did this whole shoot for her line, and I just had so much fun working with the kids and
Yeah.
doing all this. And it just kind of sparked something for me that I was like, wait, all these brands that I like wanted to do photos for all had kids lines.
Yeah.
I had never thought of it that way before. And I was like, oh, maybe that's something. And so I just
Yeah.
kind of put all my focus on like, let's just go shoot some kids. Like, let's go take pictures of kids being kids and randomness and wildness. And
Yeah.
yeah, trying to do it in a way that for me was trying to blend like my rock and roll past, if you will. Sounds so
Yeah.
with with kids being kids.
Yeah.
And in the market here, that was something that I hadn't really seen a whole lot. So
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like, oh, maybe that's my unique kind of foothold here. So,
Yeah. Oh, I think it totally worked because I mean, kids are kind of inherently rock and roll. Like they're ready to like go crazy and jump off things and experiment.
absolutely.
Yeah. No, and I think it's neat also that like so Ryan has a lot of tattoos. He definitely looks rock and roll. So you've got like this fully tatted out rock and roll dude who like works with these little babies and like these kids and he's so good at it. And he like you're like a kid whisperer on set, you
I
know?
have a lot of help on set
Yeah.
because there's a lot of energy on set.
Yeah, but I think it's kind of cool that the way that you came by it was through Jillian's um, clothing line, and then using your own kids
Oh,
to
definitely.
sell these clothes, and it's kind of it's funny how your art will kind of find you, and things just kind of come together naturally, and you didn't have to force it. It just kind of showed itself to you.
Yeah,
And
everything honestly just kind of seems like it has been slowly falling into place. It's definitely been a slow train, um, but one that like has kind of revealed itself how it needs to when it needs to for me. Um,
yeah.
I get frustrated at times with like, I just want to be, doing this next thing or at this next level, and I get
Hmm.
frustrated with it, and all of a sudden it's like, just slow down, just chill out, let it happen, and just go create and have fun. And
Yeah.
that's usually when I finally allow myself to cool out and breathe. That's when stuff like doors just open, and like I get like really cool opportunities to work with great people and fun brands. So
Yeah. Yeah. At what point do you think, how long did it take you in your career to get to the point where you were getting to work with the fun brands, the brands that really light you up?
um I feel like pretty early on, now that I like go back and look at it,
Yeah.
I feel like I miss being in the moment for the first bit of my career with that.
Mm.
I think I was so young and focused on just like the next thing, make it cool, make the next thing, that I didn't really like allow myself to soak in what I was doing, that I was literally living what I had wanted to do. Uh,
Yeah.
and then when I turned 40, I feel like I was able to like kind of step back and breathe again,
Hmm.
and go, wait, like you said when you were 25 assisting some guy, whoa, it'd be really cool to go to my own photo shoot, but ride my motorcycle to set and have all the gear there. Well, that's happened a ton for me. And I'm like, wait, I do that. That's really
Yeah.
cool. I'm living now. Like, what?
Yeah. Yeah.
I think a lot of brands I've been able to work with, um, now now I can see like they've really allowed me to just have fun and create and um, experiment while shooting on set as well. And like I feel like a lot of the brands I've been able to work with share in a similar vision, uh,
Hmm.
which is awesome. I think that is a big part of the creative dream, is when you can kind of both just be like, hey, here's kind of where we want to go. Let's just go see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as the more you shoot, like you kind of get that confidence to be able to kind of tell the client, like, kind of give your vision or your spin on the vision that maybe they come to you with.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. I feel like that's a big part of it. As I feel like acting or performing or of any sort, is there's got to be a certain like this is the way the song's supposed to go, but maybe we'll throw this in, or this is the way that
Yeah.
the character should be, but I kind of feel it like this maybe, or and I feel like a lot of that, when I'm taking photographs, a lot of it is kind of setting up this world and letting the kids become these characters, and letting the clothes kind of be the shining light, or whatever the product is, that we're working with. But um, if the characters aren't playing, for me, it kind of loses some of the magic.
Yeah. That's really, I just want to go back to something you said about turning 40 and kind of reflecting. I think, well, I have two thoughts. One
Okay.
is I think there is something about when you turn 40, you kind of start to chill out a little. I guess. I think even as like I'm, getting into I'm approaching my mid 40s, uh I'm starting to cut myself a little more slack and give myself a little more credit for the things that I've been doing. Whereas I think, you know, even like 5 years ago, I would be really hard on myself about. What's neat about that is that it's something you said is it kind of gives you the space and
Yeah.
you kind of learn to have the patience. And when you give yourself and you give your creativity the space, I think it allows things to grow. more. And I'm starting to experience that now. I
Yeah,
think it's
that's
neat that
awesome.
you're already there
Uh,
because, yeah, I'm a little bit older than you, so you're figuring it out sooner than me.
no, it's definitely an interesting and difficult thing to mentally kind of say, okay, I'm just gonna let this happen, and I'm gonna learn to be okay with it. Either way, uh,
Yeah.
it's like if I try this thing that I saw and I try to force this lighting or whatever it is for me,
Hmm.
it always comes back, and I always get disappointed with the outcome. I guess of like, oh, I didn't quite
Hmm.
hit the mark, and being older, allowing myself to slow down a little bit is it's difficult for me. It's always been difficult for me.
Yeah.
But like I said, when
Yeah.
I can actually do it, it does come out more naturally, and I can sit back and look at those images or that thing that I created and go, oh wow, that was cool. That worked out.
Well, now that you're at this point where you've been able to kind of get yourself and your career established out here, do you have like other brands that you're really looking forward to working with, or like career goals that you feel are unmet that you need to push yourself towards still, or
I think there's always going to be a list for me of like, oh, I really love to work with such and such brands, or I'd really like to be creating the next thing for sure. But I guess what I'm realizing more lately is it's not really about the brand or about the specific shoot or the specific thing. It's just finding a way to, like, for me, be able to just go out and take pictures,
yeah. Hmm.
with great people and or cool places or whatever seems inspiring. And it's less about the, like, oh, you got to work for so and so, that's so rad. I'm like, I've been able to shoot for some pretty big brands that have been cool, and I've been able to shoot for, like, just starting off brands that have been, like, just incredibly rad.
Yeah. Yeah.
Uh,
I feel
so
like
it
Primary
doesn't
is
really.
one of those. Like Primary has like so many
Primary
cool
was really
cool clothes, and yeah.
Primary was a lot of fun, and that was really interesting because Primary came during the pandemic for us,
Hmm.
so it was everybody's locked in their house, and I was lucky enough to kind of thrive throughout that
Yeah.
because of my amazing wife who could style and help me, and our gaggle of kids that could be
You had
models.
built-in models in your
We
home.
had built in everything. So our living room became a studio. Our house became a production factory, basically, for a while. And
Yeah.
yeah, but
So if there's anything anybody could take away from this, is just have a bunch of kids if you're a photographer, and you'll have a built-in model crew. No, I'm just kidding.
good luck.
Yeah, that you were really fortunate in that regard that you were able to continue to work during the pandemic because, it
I was.
happened to
I
be
was
the
definitely.
brands that you worked with. Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely very grateful and very privileged to be able to have that experience and to be able to kind of it came for me at such a great time where I had been kind of diving back into assisting more, and I was getting frustrated because I wanted to shoot more, and I
Hmm.
was like, you know what, I just have to take this leap and go for it. And then the pandemic hit, and everybody was locked in. I'm like, well, if I'm going to do it, now's the time.
Yeah.
uh, Oddly, because everybody's stopping.
Yeah.
Everybody else stops and I go,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But it worked out, so.
Yeah, it's interesting. I do feel like there is I again, I think this translates to many different performers and whatnot, is they'll
Oh,
say
definitely.
like, if you're an actor and you're at the co-star level, you're getting your one lines or whatever. Eventually you have to make the leap to guest star or like recurring. And sometimes people will sit in that co-star for a really long time and they're ready to take the leap, and their career will probably take off even more if they just kind of push for that, but people get
Trust it.
hesitant.
And
Yeah, and so it sounds like that kind of is a similar thing. You kind of took that leap like, no, I want to have these photo shoots for myself, and when you were able to make that leap, it just kind of clicked.
yeah, Yeah, it is definitely, it's definitely work, and it's definitely a bit of a trust fall, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's always been like the best move. Taking the trust leap to move to LA, taking the trust leap to kind of say no, I'm done with this assisting world, and I'm gonna
Yeah.
go shoot. You know,
Yeah.
uh,
What do you think has been the hardest thing for you having this kind of freelance lifestyle?
I think for me, balancing uh, balancing the work and um, raising kids and being able to be a good partner and uh, just time has
Yeah.
been a real challenge for most days. Because in the photography world, is if you're on set, you're on set for like 10 to 12 hours, so you're
Yeah.
gone all day. So I can wake up and maybe make my kids breakfast before I go, and then hopefully be able to see them to tuck them in at night.
Right.
But the rest of it then lies on help, and
Hmm.
and I have an incredible wife that allows me to go and do those things, and uh, you know without her, that's not something that really happens. So
Yeah.
um, yeah, that's probably been the biggest challenge. um, I feel like everything else, like the technical side of it, you learn that.
Hmm.
The marketing side of it, you learn that. You fail at that, you learn it again.
Yeah.
um, but the biggest thing I think is just definitely just juggling real life and work life,
Yeah.
which is kind of a leave land with what I do.
Yeah. Well, and then you have so many people uh kind of in the 9 to 5 schedule, and your schedule is so different from that. It's, like if it kind of
Absolutely.
probably helps to have some friends who are also in that freelance lifestyle, and they understand that your schedule is a little bit different. You're not going to be able to just like, oh yeah, of course I can hang out on Saturday. No, I'm
Yeah,
probably
yeah,
working on
that's
a
definitely
Saturday.
definitely been a big thing. I know, like with you guys, and like we'll go months, I feel like, without seeing from
Yeah.
you guys or hearing from you guys or talking to anybody. I feel like, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh hey, what's going on? But it's
Yeah.
great when you have friends that you can like pick right back up with, jump right back in. It's not like, well, where have you been? It's
Yeah.
like, what have you been
Yeah, there
doing?
was definitely a period of time when the kids were younger, and we would see each other like every Friday. We would see each other
Yeah,
every weekend, but like right now we're all kind of in a phase of our lives where yeah, we go months without seeing each other, and then like a few weeks ago we spent like an entire weekend together.
right.
Short of sleeping over at your house, I spent the whole
Yep.
weekend at your house. But it was great, and I think that's really I like you said, like it's nice to have that kind of relationship where you can just like pick up, and it's fine if you disappear for a few months because we know everybody's busy, everybody
Yeah. Well, I
has
think
things
that's part of
going
the I
on.
think that's part of the creative lifestyle.
Yeah.
Like, I think if you choose to be in the creative fields, you're choosing it partially because you don't want to sit at a desk from 9 to 5 every day
Yeah.
until your soul goes away. Like, I tried it, and I know it's not for me.
Yeah.
I'm like, there's no going back.
Yeah. Even sometimes when I'm sitting and editing these episodes, I'll sit for like 20 minutes or 30 minutes and I'm like, okay, I got to get up. I got to do
Yeah.
something. And it's like, if I just like sat down and did it straight, I could probably get it done faster, but I got to get up and move around.
Yep. My ADHD kicks in when I'm editing photos. I'll edit like 10 photos and be like, okay, I got to go do this thing over here. Like,
Yeah, yeah. And of course, if the kids are home, then it's a constant like push and pull.
yeah, then yeah.
Then forget about it. Yeah. So then I would say, what is the thing that you like most about working with kids, and what is it that I mean, I know you said like you said something about how you like them being wild and like you bring that rock and roll aesthetic to it. You found that niche, but is there something about that kind of client or the vibe on the set that you enjoy or
Yeah, I think the part I love working with the most about kids is that kids just don't have a filter. If they show up, I love that. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
I've seen so many people that try to work with kids that get frustrated because they're like, well, they're just not doing the thing. It's like, well, they don't want to.
Yeah.
They don't have that like mentality of like, oh, go run up the hill. They're either gonna go run up the hill like they've never run up a hill before and it's the most fun thing, or they're gonna be like, nah, I'm good.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, I love I love when I'm on set and I can dive in. It's almost like I get to transport into their world for a moment, and I can
Yeah.
help. Like I've learned ways through doing it that I can guide and kind of like, suggest things like, oh, what if we did this? This would be so rad. And then they're either gonna go with it or not.
Yeah.
That's the fun of it for me is having that like ability to just transport into their world and go. And then to be able to document it essentially.
Yeah.
Like that's what I feel like I do. I feel like I'm essentially documenting the wildness that
Yeah.
happens. Meanwhile, there's usually a team behind me that's like bouncing around trying to get them to do this stuff.
Well, I think that's really neat. I think a couple of things. It's really neat that you give the kids the space to just be themselves and the autonomy to say yes or no to
Yeah,
whatever it is you're proposing during the shoot. So like they feel empowered, which I think only gives you better pictures because then they're being authentic, not to overuse that word. But it is, and I think
true.
just like the camera picks up on it when it's fake, right?
It's true.
I
It's
mean,
true.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like the photos that uh, I've taken thousands of them too that are just that generic like cheese ball kind of photo, and it's
Hmm.
great.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with it. It sells the clothes, whatever it sells. But when you, to me, it's like when you get that moment of the kid in pure joy spinning around,
Yeah.
you just get it, and it's not perfect, but that's what makes it perfect.
Yeah.
Uh, that perfectly imperfect
Yeah.
kind of thing. Like, but you have to let creativity work. You have to let the kids, like you said, you have to let the kids feel empowered and comfortable and safe in order for any of that to even come out.
Yeah.
Uh, as it would with any adult. Like if you or I walk into a room and I don't feel empowered or I don't feel safe or
Yeah.
comfortable, I'm going to be like, just tuck in the corner and hide, whatever.
Yeah. Right. And I think, hopefully if the parents are doing their job right, they have uh they haven't impressed upon the kids like you need to listen to him and do whatever he says, because I think as adults we become, and not everyone, but many of us become a little bit more people pleaser, and especially I think if you're a model type or an actor type, you're like, well, tell me what to do. I want to do whatever it is to do it right, and I don't want to lose the job. And I think kids are just like, yeah, okay, whatever. I'm gonna
Yeah,
be me,
and I think that's
and
good. Yeah,
that's
I agree.
so great. So if you have the kids in that kind of headspace, then yeah,
Yeah, that's a big one for me. For me, it's a big one. I know it might be different for other people that work with kids on a regular basis, but for me, that's how I found what works for me
yeah.
to be able to get the look of images that I'm creating.
Well, and I think it makes your images stand out as well because you can tell that the kids are having fun and that they're just being themselves. So
Thank you.
you're
Yeah,
welcome.
that's number one for me is to make sure that they're having. At the end of the day, if the kids walk away and they're like, "That was so cool," and I feel like I did my job.
That's awesome. So let me ask you, what advice do you have for anyone who's coming up in this industry as a photographer, or artists in general trying to find their way into making their craft their career?
That's tricky. One, I don't even know if I'm at that point to be able to give advice, but
Well, you've definitely found some ways to
found tricks and trades, I
make a
guess.
career for yourself.
Like I
Yeah,
feel like
yeah,
if I had any advice, it would just be to uh, when you're first starting off, just try it everything. Try it all. Don't be afraid
yeah,
to mess up. It's not the end of the world to just try it, fail at it, learn from it, bring that experience into the next thing, um, and just keep trying different stuff. Um, when you find, I feel like when you find something that sticks, you know it and you feel it.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do, that's what you hang on to. And then you start to really learn and grow. And in doing that, I guess my next piece of advice would be allow yourself the time and space to slow down and learn and grow. And
Yeah.
be very forgiving with yourself in that, because the creative fields aren't easy,
No.
but they're so rewarding when it works out.
Do you think it's I don't know about your industry. Is it harder to kind of come into it later, or is it something that you can kind of jump into at any age?
I feel like it's changing so quickly in my industry.
Is it?
I just with more images are blasted everywhere now.
Yeah, that's true because you've got Instagram and everybody fancies themselves a
Yeah,
photographer
every
and they're not.
um, I feel like it is more difficult, but I feel like the people that are there's two ways to do it. I guess, you can either sit there and complain about it and then whatever, or you can just keep trying and pushing and making connections and having fun. And
Yeah.
that stuff I feel like is what shows through. That's when you start to find the clients that you like enjoy working with and working for, and the relationship starts,
Yeah.
which is even better.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah,
And so then my next question that I ask everyone is what does making it mean to you? Like what does success look like to you now versus maybe when you were first starting to pursue photography and pursue your art?
sure. I know when I first started doing photography, uh, making it was very different in my head
Yeah.
versus now. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like now making it to me, I feel like is just being able to enjoy creating with great people,
Hmm.
um, and being able to spend time with my family and to be able to support
Hmm.
them, however they need, especially having
Yeah.
so many kids. Like I just want to be able to watch them grow and to find their own creativity or voice or whatever it is they decide to do. And uh, that to me is going to be when I made it.
Aw. That's so cool. That's cool. Well, you definitely have your work cut out for you
I
there
do.
with helping them. Kids, I only have two, but kids are hard, man. They're very it's also one of those things, very
It
rewarding,
is.
but very, very hard.
It's an ever changing
Cool.
game.
Yeah, it really is. Just when you think you've got it figured out, they switch it up on you.
Exactly. But that's life.
Yeah. Yeah, that is life. It really is. Yeah. We're sold this idea, or at least I was. I can't speak for everybody, but I feel like I just always thought like when you grow up, it's just going to be really straightforward and you'll have your schedule
Yeah,
and
right.
this is what it is, and you don't realize that the learning never ends and the challenges never end, and
Yeah.
every phase of life brings new challenges.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Well, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for taking the time to sit down with me. I'm really glad that we did this.
Thank you. This has
And
been so
I feel like I got to learn a little bit more about you than I have, even though we've known each other for years.
That's
So,
awesome. Yeah, no, this
yeah.
has been a
Yeah.
really enjoyable conversation. I really had a lot of fun
Yeah.
talking to you.
And actually, I always forget to ask people this. Where can people follow you? And is there anything that you want to promote today?
Sure. So my website is ryan-pavlovich.com. I'm on Instagram, just Ryan Pavlovich. And that's really kind of the only spots that I put anything.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's a million other places that I should be, but I'm not.
Yeah. And I'll link it all in the show notes. And actually, also check out Ryan's wife, Jillian D Creative,
Yes.
on Instagram at Jillian D Creative with 1L. And I'll link all that in the show notes because you can see some of her styling and of course in Ryan's photography, you can pretty much know it's her who styled it.
It looks good from
Yeah.
her. I just get the pretty light.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. It was good talking to you.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you all for listening to this week's episode. You can follow Ryan on Instagram at Ryan Pavlovich. That's Pavlovich. Or check out his website, ryan-pavlovich.com. And while you're at it, check out his wife's work on Instagram at Jillian D Creative. All this is linked in the show notes as well to make it easy for you. Please, if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen. Be sure to follow the show on Instagram at Making It After 40, the number 40. And this past week, I launched season 2 of my little web series, Tips with Teresa. You can check that out on my Instagram account at Lisa Rodriguez, or you can check it out on YouTube. Thank you all again for listening. It means the world to me. We'll see you next week. Starting a podcast felt overwhelming and scary. From putting myself out there in a vulnerable way, to wondering if people would even want to be a guest, and questioning if my idea was good enough. Once I overcame those fears, the easiest part has been getting my podcast out into the world. And that is thanks to Buzzsprout. Buzzsprout is hands down the easiest and best way to launch, promote, and track your podcast. Your show can be online and listed in all the major podcast directories like Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, and more within minutes of finishing your recording. I researched a lot of podcast hosting sites, but Buzzsprout is the one that I kept coming back to. You'll get a great-looking podcast website, audio players that you can drop into other websites, detailed analytics to see how people are listening, tools to promote your episodes, and more. If you're considering starting your own podcast, don't wait any longer. It's so much fun. To be honest, I only wish I had started it sooner. Following the link in the show notes lets Buzzsprout know we sent you. Gets you a $20 Amazon gift card if you sign up for a paid plan, and helps support our show. So what are you waiting for? Go start your podcast now.